I woke up early on my 69th birthday, thinking maybe, just maybe, someone in this house would remember. I made breakfast, cleaned the kitchen, folded their laundry, and waited for a single happy birthday. It never came. Around noon, they asked if I could prep dinner too, because they had plans. That night, alone at the table, I saw a photo of my son, his wife, and my grandchildren smiling at a steakhouse. No empty chair for me. The next morning, I didn't cook, I didn't clean. I called my lawyer. This house is mine, and I'm taking it back. For 5 years after Harold passed, I tried my best to live on my own. The house felt empty, and every corner echoed with the silence of a life I once knew. So when David said, "Mom, you shouldn't be alone anymore. Come live with us. It'll be better for all of us," I packed up and moved into the house that used to be ours. It wasn't an easy decision, but I wanted to feel needed again. I wanted to matter. Living with David, Monica, and their kids, Eli and Sarah, was comforting at first. Mornings started with the smell of eggs and toast, my hands moving on instinct. I'd get the kids ready for school, help them with homework, make Monica's lunch, and always had dinner on the table before David came home. I did it because I loved them, because I thought it brought us closer. In my heart, I believed I was building memories. But the truth is, I was erasing myself a little more each day. Monica was always polite. Too polite. Her smiles never reached her eyes, and her compliments felt rehearsed. "Oh, thank you, Linda. You're a lifesaver." She said it the same way she thanked her online grocery delivery guy. David was distant. He wasn't rude, but we didn't talk like we used to. Conversations were short, about the kids or dinner plans. He was always rushing out the door or behind a screen. Sometimes, I wondered if he even noticed I was there. Eli and Sarah were the sunshine in my days. Their hugs, their laughter, their chaos. That was real. I loved helping Sarah learn to read, and Eli always wanted me to watch his soccer drills in the backyard. But slowly, even they started knocking before entering my room. Monica had told them to respect privacy, but I couldn't help but feel like a guest. One Saturday, I was pruning roses in the front yard when a neighbor, Mrs. Reynolds, walked by. "So you're renting from Monica and David, right? What a lovely setup." I blinked. "Excuse me? You're their tenant, right? Monica mentioned they were letting a retired teacher rent the extra room." I smiled politely, but inside something cracked. I wasn't renting. This was the home Harold and I built together. We raised David here. My name was on every piece of paperwork that mattered, but somehow, in everyone else's eyes, I had become an afterthought, a convenient extra. That night, I asked David, "Did Monica tell the neighbors I'm renting?" He looked up from his phone, confused. "What? No, Mom, I don't think so." Then back to his screen. I didn't push. I didn't want to cause trouble. A few weeks later, I invited my old friend, Jeanette, over for tea. We'd planned it for weeks. I baked lemon scones and set the table by the window. At noon, Monica walked in, took one look, and said, "Oh, I wish you had told me. I already scheduled the pest control to come today. They'll be spraying inside." Jeanette and I ended up sitting outside in the heat. I laughed it off, but something about the timing didn't feel accidental. The next morning, I noticed the cabinet locks had changed. "We had to keep the kids from snacking," Monica explained with a grin. I wasn't even given a key. Later that week, I was cleaning out the hall closet when I heard Eli and Sarah playing in the living room. "When we move to the new house, can I have the pink room?" Sarah asked. Eli replied, "Mom said this house will be ours someday. Grandma won't live here forever." I stood there frozen, with a vacuum cord tangled around my ankles. It wasn't their fault. They were just repeating what they'd heard. I told myself not to overthink. Maybe Monica meant well. Maybe David was just overwhelmed. I clung to those maybes like lifelines. A few days after, Monica came into the kitchen with a bright smile. "Hey, I made a reservation for Saturday night. It's a little surprise. You'll love it." My heart fluttered. My birthday was coming up. Could it be? After everything? I nodded, hopeful. "Oh, what's the occasion?" "Just something special we've been planning." She winked and walked away. I didn't ask more. I didn't want to ruin the surprise. That night, I stared at the calendar by my bed. It was the first time in years I actually felt excited about my birthday. Maybe this year would be different. I woke up early on my birthday, same as always. The sun was barely up, but I was already in the kitchen cracking eggs and flipping pancakes. Eli loved chocolate chip. Sarah preferred banana. I made both. I even set the table with the good plates, the ones Monica only brought out for guests. Something about the day felt important. I told myself it would be. By 9:00 a.m., the house was still quiet. No one came down to eat. At 9:15, my phone buzzed. Monica, "Hey, quick thing, can you prep lunch for the kids too? We have to run out for a bit. Thank you so much." No happy birthday, no smiley face, just the usual, like I was the live-in help. I stared at the message for a long moment, then turned back to the stove. The pancakes had gone cold. I reheated them. When the kids finally woke up, I served them with extra syrup and tried not to let my voice shake. "Do you know what day it is?" I asked, smiling. Eli shrugged, mouth full. "Saturday?" Sarah giggled. "Is it movie night?" I laughed. "Close enough." By noon, the house was empty. Monica and David had left without saying goodbye. I watched from the front window as they pulled away in David's car, both dressed up. Monica in a deep red blouse I hadn't seen before. David wearing his tailored jacket. Maybe they're planning something. Maybe this is all part of the surprise, I told myself. I spent the rest of the afternoon tidying up. I cleared the dishes, swept the kitchen, and wiped the counters. At 3:00, I took the cake out of the fridge. It was just a small vanilla one I'd bought myself the day before. I placed it on the table, lit a candle, and waited. And waited. By 5:00, the candle had melted into the frosting. The cake drooped slightly in the heat. Still, I sat there. Out of boredom or desperation, I opened Facebook. Maybe they'd posted something. A clue. Anything. There it was. A photo. David, Monica, Eli, and Sarah smiling at a steakhouse. Balloons in the background. A gold banner read, "Congrats on the deal." Monica's caption read, "Celebrating big wins with the best team." My throat tightened. I zoomed in, hoping there was an empty chair, that they were waiting for me to arrive. But no, every seat was filled, every glass raised. I didn't cry. Not yet. I got up, threw away the candle, and put the cake back in the fridge. Then I vacuumed the living room, scrubbed the stove, folded a load of laundry. I told myself if I kept moving, I wouldn't feel it. That night, I sat alone in the dark. No dinner, no voices, just the hum of the refrigerator and the quiet ache of being forgotten. Around midnight, I couldn't sleep. My chest was heavy and my hands itched for something to hold on to. I walked down the hall and paused by the office. The door was usually locked, but it was ajar. I pushed it open. Inside, papers were stacked on the desk. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. A thick file labeled Residential Care Facility Admission. My name, Linda Mayfield, age 68, proposed facility, Whispering Oaks. I pulled out the documents, signed forms. Preliminary evaluations. Monica's handwriting scrawled across sticky notes. Ask lawyer about POA. Request updated medical summary. Target move-in, late fall. I felt like the floor gave out beneath me. For months they'd been planning this, smiling at me over dinner while quietly making arrangements to put me away. Suddenly, every polite smile, every, "Oh, you're such a help," twisted into something cruel. This wasn't about love. It was about convenience. I sank into the desk chair, hands shaking. So that was the surprise. While I was making pancakes and planning birthday dinners, they were planning to get rid of me. I sat there for a long time, the file still in my lap. Eventually, I slid it back where I found it, closed the drawer, walked back to my room. I didn't sleep that night, but I made a decision. I wouldn't say anything. Not yet. Because when I spoke next, it wouldn't be with tears. It would be with truth and proof. The next morning, I moved differently, not out of habit or routine, but with purpose. My eyes scanned the house like I was seeing it for the first time. Not as a home, but as a crime scene. There were signs everywhere. I just hadn't wanted to see them. In the attic, tucked inside a dusty chest next to old Christmas decorations, I found the original file Harold and I kept locked away. Our marriage license, insurance policies, birth certificates, and at the bottom, the deed and his will. I sat on the floor, heart pounding. It was all still in my name. The house, the land, every brick of it belonged to me. Harold had made that clear before he died. You need security, Linda. If something happens to me, this house is yours. I never thought to question it. Why would I? Until now. With trembling hands, I flipped through the pages. No amendments, no power of attorney transferred, no legal sale. It was all mine. So why did Monica act like it wasn't? And how had David mortgaged this place if I'd never signed anything? My stomach turned. I took the deed, made photocopies, and tucked the originals back where they belonged. Then I went to the office, the one Monica had recently had organized by a professional, which oddly included a locked file drawer. It didn't take much effort. She never changed the combination lock I'd once installed myself. Inside, there were folders for taxes, bills, and bank statements. But one stood out, a loan file. At the top, commercial line of credit, application, and collateral agreement, secured by real estate. My house. The borrower, David Mayfield. The co-signer, Linda Mayfield. My signature was there. Except it wasn't. I'd never seen that form. Never sat in a bank office. Never picked up a pen for any of this. And yet, there it was, in ink that wasn't mine. On paper that bound my property to a business I knew nothing about. The air left my lungs. How long had this been going on? I flipped through the rest, emails printed and stapled to correspondence. At the bottom, Monica's name appeared again and again. Her notes, her initials. I closed the drawer quietly, my hands numb. Back in my room, I opened a notebook and began documenting everything. Timeline, documents, quotes, dates. Then I bought a pocket recorder from a local store and started listening closely. Every dinner conversation, every whispered call behind closed doors, every slip of the tongue became ammunition. One night, I caught Monica in the kitchen on the phone. The equity is there. We just need the old paperwork to match the buyer's timeline. He's ready to offer as soon as we can clear the title. I don't want to wait until next year. She lowered her voice. No, Linda doesn't know. She won't even notice. She still thinks we're renovating for the kids. I clicked off the recorder, hands trembling, not in fear anymore, but rage. Still, I didn't confront her. I needed more than emotion. I needed facts. So I called a lawyer, a woman named Teresa, recommended by a friend I trusted. I met her at a cafe, handed her a folder of copies, and told her everything. Quietly, with shame bleeding through my voice. She didn't blink. She flipped through the documents, scribbled notes, and looked up at me calmly. You've got a serious case, she said. Forgery, fraud, property misrepresentation, and Linda, this house is still legally yours. If they move forward with a sale, that's criminal liability. I blinked, not sure if I felt relief or heartbreak. Can you prove the signature isn't yours? She asked. I nodded. Absolutely. Then we start there. That evening, I stayed quiet at dinner, smiling as Monica talked about needing to streamline things around the house. David barely looked up. Eli and Sarah chatted about school and sports, oblivious. After dinner, Monica pulled me aside. Just so you know, Mom, she said sweetly, we're looking at properties. Nothing urgent, but something bigger, for the family. I stared at her. You're looking to move? She smiled. Eventually. But you'll always have a place, of course. We'll make sure of that. I nodded slowly, hiding every ounce of fury under a calm mask, because I knew the truth. They weren't planning to take me with them. They were planning to leave me behind. For the next 2 weeks, I worked like a woman possessed. Each morning before sunrise, I combed through the documents again. I made color-coded folders, blue for the deed, red for the forged loan paperwork, yellow for the care facility registration, and black for the voice recordings. I labeled everything down to the last date and signature. At night, When the house was quiet, I slipped into the office to copy emails Monica had printed and never thought I'd find. Her messages to a real estate broker named Ken. Her excitement over an easy close. Her insistence that the house was technically family-owned. Each discovery tightened the knot in my stomach. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I was preparing. And for the first time in months, I felt powerful. I told Monica I wanted to host a small dinner, just us. A way to make up for missing my birthday. Her eyes lit up. She probably thought I was finally letting go of my bitterness. David shrugged. The kids were excited. "Grandma's party, yo," they said. Perfect. I cleaned the house from top to bottom, set the table with linen napkins and polished silverware. I ordered catered dishes, ones I used to cook, but better. I even played Monica's favorite jazz playlist, letting it hum softly through the speakers. But that wasn't all. I invited an old friend, Karen, who hadn't visited in years. She'd always had a flair for drama, and more importantly, she'd worked in real estate for 30 years. She agreed to play a role. On the afternoon of the dinner, Karen showed up early in a crisp blazer, clipboard in hand. As planned, I asked Monica, "Would you mind answering the door? I think someone's here for you." Monica opened it. Karen smiled sweetly. "Hi there, I'm here about the property. Linda said you were listing soon?" Monica froze. "I'm sorry. What?" Karen blinked innocently. "The house. She said you were trying to move quickly, something about a private sale. I brought some papers you might want to look over." David appeared behind Monica, his mouth slightly open. I stepped in. "She's just early. We'll talk later, dear." Karen winked at me as she left. Monica didn't speak for the next 20 minutes. At 7:00 p.m., the table was set, the food warm, the wine poured. Everyone sat down. Eli and Sarah giggling, David distracted by his phone, Monica stiff as a statue. Then I stood up. "I have a little something I'd like to share before dinner," I said. "A few memories." I turned on the TV. A video began to play. It was Monica's voice, clear and sharp from the kitchen recording I'd captured. She doesn't even know what's happening. By the time she figures it out, we'll be moved into the new place. The kids won't even remember living here with her. Then another clip, this one from a phone call. "Once we transfer the title, we're in the clear. Linda won't make a fuss. She's too passive for that." The silence in the room was thunderous. David looked at Monica. "You said you hadn't signed anything yet." Monica stood up. "What is this? You've been spying on us?" "No," I said calmly. "I've been protecting myself from people I once called family." I walked to the side table, picked up a leather-bound folder, and dropped it on the table. "In here," I continued, "is the deed to this house, in my name. Legal proof that no sale can occur without my consent." I turned to David. "I found the loan documents, too. You used my name without my permission, forged my signature." He opened his mouth, then shut it. I looked at Monica. "You tried to erase me, quietly, with fake kindness and hidden paperwork. But I'm still here." I stepped closer. "I'm not a guest. I'm not a burden. And I am not living here for now. This house is mine. It always has been." I took a breath. "You have 30 days to leave, both of you. No arguments, no negotiations. I've already filed the fraud report. This dinner is my final courtesy." Monica's eyes burned. David looked pale. Eli and Sarah sat still, confused, but sensing the gravity in the room. I turned back to the table. "Let's eat," I said, "before the food gets cold." The air in the dining room hung heavy like smoke. No one moved. The wine glasses sat untouched, the roast slowly cooling. My words echoed in the silence. "You have 30 days to leave." David looked up at me, his eyes glossy. He opened his mouth, then dropped his gaze to the floor. "I didn't know," he whispered. I knew about the loan, but Monica said it wasn't a big deal. She said we could refinance after the sale." I didn't speak. He rubbed his face, voice breaking. "I never wanted to hurt you, Mom. I thought we were just getting ahead. It was just a business decision." Tears slid down his cheeks. "But it's your name," I said quietly. Your decision cost me my dignity, my safety, my home." Monica, arms crossed, snapped, "This is insane. You think any of this will hold up? You recorded me without consent. You ambushed us." "Legally," I said, "I have every right to document in my own home. And the signatures you submitted to the bank? Already under review." Her eyes narrowed. "You wouldn't." I walked to the buffet table and picked up a white envelope. "This is a courtesy copy," I said, handing it to her. "My attorney sent a formal letter to the bank this morning. We're requesting a signature audit and opening a fraud investigation. You'll hear from them soon." She didn't take the envelope. David looked like he was going to be sick. "You forged my name, David," I said, turning to him. "You let her file paperwork in my name for a house you don't own. You gave away what wasn't yours to give." "I'm sorry," he whispered again. "I thought you wouldn't notice." That was the part that hurt the most. I pulled out a second letter. "I'm giving you a choice," I said. "Withdraw from the loan agreement, disclose everything to the bank voluntarily and walk away clean, or wait for the investigation to play out. And believe me, it will." Neither of them responded. Monica grabbed her purse, muttering, "We're not doing this here." She stormed out. David remained seated, shaking. I stood for a moment, then slowly sat back down at the head of the table. I poured myself a glass of wine and took a sip. The dinner was over, but the damage had just begun. The next morning, I woke up to silence. No children's footsteps. No sound of dishes clinking or Monica's voice dictating chores. They were gone. Or at least gone for the moment. David texted once that day. "We'll figure something out." I didn't reply. Over the next week, boxes appeared near the front door. Monica avoided me entirely. Eli and Sarah still said hello, but their eyes darted between me and their parents with confusion. They didn't understand why their lives were suddenly being packed into cardboard, and I didn't have the heart to explain. One evening, I found David in the garage, sitting on a box labeled kitchen stuff. "I know you hate me," he said, not looking up. "I don't," I answered. He looked surprised. "I'm angry," I continued. "I'm disappointed, but I don't hate you. I ruined everything." "No," I said. "You let someone else do that and you stood by." He nodded slowly. "She said we deserved the house, that you didn't even want to live here, that we were just moving things along faster." I didn't respond. There was nothing left to explain. A few days later, Monica left. She didn't say goodbye. She took the kids, said she needed space. David stayed behind for another week, trying to untangle bank paperwork and emails and apologies, but nothing he said could undo what was done. On day 30, he handed me the keys to the front door. "I'll be staying with a friend for now," he said. "I want to fix this. I don't know how, but I want to." I nodded. "Goodbye, Mom." "Goodbye, David." He walked out without another word. When the door shut, I didn't cry. I sat down on the couch, wrapped myself in the old quilt Harold used to love, and stared out the window. For the first time in months, the house was quiet, and it belonged only to me. There was grief, of course. No mother dreams of breaking apart her family, but beneath the ache was a strange peace. I had lost something, but I had saved myself. 1 year later, the house looked different. The walls were no longer beige. I'd painted them a warm clay red, like the desert in Santa Fe. Bold, earthy, alive, the old dining set was gone, replaced by a round wooden table I found at a thrift store. In the kitchen, a corkboard held colorful sketches and watercolor paintings, each one pinned with a handwritten note or name. That was my new life. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I hosted a free art class for seniors in the community. Some came for the painting, others came for the company, most came for both. The front room, once Monica's idea of a showroom, had become our studio. Plastic drop cloths lined the hardwood. A long table held jars of brushes, palettes, paper towels, and laughter. We didn't talk much about the past, but in the quiet strokes of a paintbrush, people shared stories of loss, of love, of survival. I wasn't the only one who'd been forgotten, dismissed, or displaced. We understood each other without needing to explain. I also started volunteering at the library twice a month. helping with literacy classes for adults who'd never had the chance to learn. Watching someone sound out their first full sentence at 65 years old is a kind of miracle that humbles you. And Eli? He still visited every Saturday. Monica hadn't tried to stop him, not after the custody agreement settled. David would drop him off at 10:12 DM sharp, and Eli would burst through the door like sunshine with sneakers. One day, we were in the garden, pruning roses together, when he looked up and said, "Grandma, you're the bravest person I know." I smiled. "Why's that?" "Because you didn't yell," he said. "You just stood up." I hugged him then, tighter than I ever had before. Children remember more than we think. My relationship with David was polite, if distant. He came for holidays, occasionally called to check in. He never asked to move back. I think he knew better. Trust is a delicate thing once broken. Still, I didn't hate him. I had let go of that weight, not for him, but for me. I had learned something in that silence, in the empty spaces where their voices used to be. I had learned how to hear myself again. There's something sacred about taking your life back, not with screaming, not with vengeance, but with quiet, undeniable truth. For years, I had measured my worth by what I could give, how clean the house was, how well the children ate, how smoothly the days ran. I thought love meant staying useful. I was wrong. Love doesn't demand you disappear. It doesn't whisper lies behind closed doors while smiling across the dinner table. It doesn't trade your existence for convenience or call you family while filing paperwork to ship you away. Love, real love, makes room. And if they can't make room for you, you make room for yourself. Sometimes, to hold on to your worth, you have to let go of what's no longer real, even if it has your last name, even if you raised it. I didn't want to lose my son, but I couldn't afford to lose myself. And in that choice, painful as it was, I found a kind of peace that no approval, no apology, no birthday dinner could have ever brought me. To anyone out there quietly enduring the slow erasure of your worth, hear this. You are not being dramatic. You are not being selfish. You are not being ungrateful. You are being erased, bit by bit, smile by smile, task by task. And you deserve better. You deserve to sit at the table, not just serve it. You deserve to be heard, not just useful. You deserve to feel at home, in your own home. So stand up, speak out, reclaim your story, because if you don't write the ending, someone else will.